I teased last week that big things were on the way for Forge in Ohio, and this right here is the very first step. Forge in Ohio is now on YouTube with video interviews and so much more that I plan on bringing to the channel. I'd love to do a big number in week 1, so please support the show and please support Ohio MMA by subscribing. It just takes one click and it's absolutely no cost to you whatsoever. More announcements to come, but let's get you what you came for, and that's episode 45 of Forged in Ohio.
Now, for the show that brings combat sports stories to life from the great state of Ohio, this is Forged in Ohio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 45 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. Thank you all for the support on last week's episode with Walker Snowden, especially on social media. You all killed it, by the way, but a lot of the promotion of that episode involved his recent submission win where he put his opponent to sleep, right? And for episode 45, this fighter also put his last opponent to sleep. This one was with a rear naked choke on August 26th, improving his record to 4-3 as an amateur mixed martial artist. It's the one and only Liam the Hitman Hamill. Thanks for coming on the show, Liam, and welcome to Forge in Ohio, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. So coming into this fight, I was looking for the knockout on the feet. So it was cool getting my first submission, and I hit him once. I rocked him once. I landed a good right hand, and he shot a shot, and I sprawled out. And it was actually a anaconda, not a rear naked choke. It was an anaconda. And I knew once I locked it in, it was over. It was tight. So it was cool getting my first submission because I haven't had a submission yet.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about that because I know the announcers were calling it an anaconda choke, but on Tapology it was listed as a rear naked choke. So,
okay,
in your opinion, anaconda choke through and through, that's the submission you got?
Yeah, anaconda.
All right, and how are you feeling just a few days removed from that incredible win? Obviously, it was on the 26th. We're talking on the 31st. How are you feeling just like 5 days removed from the fight?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm trying to get something else scheduled. I didn't take any damage. I haven't taken any damage my last 2 fights. Trying to stay active, knock out a couple more amateur fights, get an amateur belt, and then looking to turn pro when the time is right, somewhere around the end of the year, beginning of next year, first couple months. So I feel great, though. Yeah, like I said, I didn't take any damage, so ready to get back in there.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to talk about your future plans here in a minute, but sticking with this fight on the 26th, right out of the gate, you landed a few leg kicks, had that huge slam takedown, and then forced him to shoot after that strong right hand. What was your actual game plan heading into this fight?
You know, heading into this fight, my game plan was just to keep it on the feet. So I've only been training since I was I've been training for like 3.5 years, but I wrestled my whole life. I wrestled all growing up. So my first couple fights, I was wrestling a lot, and I wasn't using my hands. So I was like, I need to get more comfortable in here using my hands, man, and be a mixed martial artist, not just a wrestler. So a lot of these guys, they stick to their strong suit, but with it being amateur, man, I'm trying to get as well-rounded as I can. You know what I mean? So the game plan was to keep it on the feet. I love the striking aspect of MMA, man. There's nothing like cracking somebody in the head.
Yeah, and you have plenty of experience cracking guys in the head, that's for sure. And this submission win, you kind of mentioned it before, but did you know that when he shot and you wrapped up that submission, that based on the positioning and I guess where your hands were, that you could finish the fight with that anaconda choke?
Yeah. Like I said, he shot a shot and I sprawled out pretty well. And as soon as I got my hand locked to my bicep, I pretty much knew because I had it locked in pretty tight. But I thought he was going to tap, man. He went to sleep. So respect to him for not tapping. I'd probably do the same thing. If it's not like an arm bar or a leg submission, I'm probably going to go to sleep too if I'm not going to tap. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you have experience putting guys to sleep in the past, but what was your reaction when you felt him fall asleep and then saw him laying on the canvas unconscious after the submission win?
You know, I respect everyone who gets in the cage, and I got excited. I did a backflip off the cage, and I was just filled with emotion. I was excited. I really started working hard this year. I kind of fully committed to fighting, quit my job, and just really want to make this happen. When I first started, man, I was only training like 3 times a week and just relying on the fact that I knew how to wrestle and my athletic ability. So I wasn't really doing it. And I was fighting some tough opponents. So it took me taking a couple losses to really learn and move forward in this sport, and it's helped me grow a lot. So I'm excited for the future because I'm really putting in the work now. So
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans in Ohio MMA should be excited too. Once again, talking to Liam the Hitman Hamill on Forged in Ohio. How does that most recent win rank among the best moments of your amateur career so far?
the knockout was cool, but that was cool, man. That was pretty cool because I went on a 3-fight losing streak. Like it took me, and like I said, I wasn't putting in the work in, man. I was kind of putting in minimal effort and expecting top results. So it took me losing and kind of hitting rock bottom and realizing like, hey, if you really want to do this, it's time to go. Like put the work in, get in good shape. Because I was fighting at 185 and I wasn't cutting any weight. And like you can look at the people I fought. Zane Havener, he's got a belt in B2. I fought for the belt back in April against Todd Pickett, which he's a tough opponent too. Great jiu-jitsu guy. I rocked him in the first round, and just not being in the cage in so long, having bad fight IQ, I make a couple little mistakes and it gets stopped in the first round. I wasn't hurt or nothing, but it's amateur. They're trying to protect the fighters. Christian Floyd, he's 5-1. He's a big body. Um, I try to fight tough opponents. I'm not going out here looking to fight dudes who are just kind of doing it for fun. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get ready for pro because I definitely want to fight pro. So
Yeah, for sure. So you're now on that 2-fight win streak, but before that, you mentioned it. You had lost 3 fights in a row. Was there pressure for you coming off those 3 fights to pick up a win and not fall subject to a fourth consecutive loss on the amateur scene?
man, honestly, there was always pressure. I feel like having my uncle's name behind me. I remember I've been wrestling my whole life, so like my first fight, I was pretty nervous, and I fought Elijah Woodruff. He's actually one of my teammates now, and he's had a bunch of amateur fights too in Ohio, but he's from the Dayton area. I feel like there was always pressure on me, man. Just walking in, like I remember my first weigh-ins. I walked in, and like we weren't even supposed to be stepping on the scale. And my uncle, he's deaf. My uncle was like, "Liam, hop on the scale real quick," and nobody said nothing to him because it was my uncle. They just let me like hop on the scale and check my weight. So no, it's cool, man. I just feel like there was always pressure. I want to build my name, build my fan base, because it's not just fighting, man. I want to build an army behind me and take this thing far, see where I can take it. So
Yeah, and with Team Hammer, it certainly seems like you can do that. You have the people around you to be able to do that. But in amateur MMA, you see fighters sometimes leave the game after losing 3 fights in a row or just on a simple losing streak all the time. Was it difficult, especially mentally, going through that stretch in your career? Did you know that, like you said, you just weren't putting the work in, and once you did, the results will show?
yeah, definitely, man. I had to come down and just be honest with myself, and just my whole life, man. I was an all-state running back in high school, and I was partying a lot in high school and just doing whatever. And I had schools offering me to come play football for them. And I remember we got a new coach my senior year, and me and him butted heads a little bit. I faced a little adversity, and I quit. I was a state placer in my 8th grade year in middle school wrestling. I come up into the high school my freshman year. I get hurt, kind of get a little burned out from wrestling. I quit wrestling for 2 years. And I came back my senior year, qualified for state. It got canceled because of COVID. But even being 2 years removed, I went, and I was, man, it would go to whenever I'd wrestle tough dudes and go to the third period because I wasn't working that hard. When I'd wrestle other dudes who were top in the state, I would whenever I'd face adversity, man, I'd break. So it took me, MMA has taught me a lot, man, just mentally. And when it hit that point again where I kept losing, man, I was like, all right, it's time to, grow up and just face this as a man and learn from my losses. And I honestly have learned from, like, my first two losses at 185, dude, I was so, like, I wasn't running. I wasn't going and doing cardio on my own. And it took me, man, being in the cage in that third round, feeling like I was swimming underwater and someone's trying to hurt me. I was like, all right, I'm never getting back in the cage like that again. So, the fight this year was just, knocking the rust off. And it wasn't more so that I was out of shape. It was just I hadn't been in there in a while. And, I dropped him with a right hand. I got excited. And, it is what it is. I learned from it. I would love to have that rematch if I could get it. I would love to fight him. But I'll fight whoever, man. I've been offered a couple fights already this week. So got to figure that out and see what I'm going to do.
So that feeling in the third round of that fight where you feel like you're underwater in a way, how do you make sure you get motivated by that feeling to make sure you don't feel that way again, rather than being defeated by that feeling and saying, hey, maybe this really isn't for me? Or did that thought really never come across your head?
No, man, I know I'm a fighter. It's in my blood. Me and my brothers, man, have been beating the crap out of each other since we've been kids. Even like I said, I ran the football my whole life, man. I would purposely run my head into people as hard as I could. And like I remember the first play of football, I would always try to run at someone helmet to helmet as hard as I could, just to let them know, like, I'm not scared to get hit. And that's I've only had one fight where I didn't really throw my hands, and that's when I was like, that was another thing. I was wrestling the whole time, and I was like, dude, well, this is MMA, man. Throw your hands. And it was a split decision loss. It was a close fight. Could have gone either way. It was in his hometown, but I just wish I would have done more with my hands. I just wasn't throwing my hands at all. I don't know if I wasn't comfortable or nothing, but no, it never crossed my mind that this wasn't for me. I know this was for me. I just had to, like I said, be honest with be honest with myself, man, and start putting the work in. So
what position did you play in football, by the way?
I was a running back.
Running back? And
Yeah.
sounds like head-to-head contact. Did you get a lot of targeting penalties on you?
Nah. If it was a play, I played fullback and halfback, man. They would give me the ball a lot. Yeah, you can, when we get off here, you can look up my huddle highlights you just look up Liam Hamill. Like I said, I quit my senior year, but you can see my junior year highlights.
All right, I saw your MMA fights on YouTube, but I'll definitely have to link that in the podcast description. Maybe people watching or listening can watch those highlights too.
Hell yeah.
So usually I start by talking about the fighter's upbringing in the sport, but I wanted to get right into that most recent win. So let's talk about your background for a bit here on the back end of the show. And you kind of mentioned it a little bit about how you started wrestling, but how did you actually kind of start in combat sports? I know your uncle too, but what's your story?
Yeah, so like I said, man, I wrestled from the time I was 4 all the way up, and I took some time off in high school, like I said. I was going to go, so I came back my senior year, and I qualified for state, and I had a couple of schools talking to me, and I decided to go to Thomas More. I had an athletic scholarship to go wrestle at Thomas More. I got to Thomas More. I was there for like 4 weeks, and I was never a big school guy. So I was like, I came home, and I was like, I don't think school is for me. And I reached out to my uncle. My uncle had recently, my uncle had recently moved back, and I knew he was training MMA because he lived up in Utica. So my uncle had moved back, and I texted him. I was like, yo, I want to start training MMA, and started training. And then I think like 5 months into training, I took a fight, won my first fight. So, but no, that's really all it was. There's no crazy backstory. I went to school to go wrestle, realized I didn't want to do school, and I knew I loved I'm a competitor, knew I love sports. I was like, man, I'm too athletic to give up on athletics already. So started training.
A storyline heading into almost every one of your fights has been how comfortable you are on the ground with that wrestling background, but you show off your striking as well. How far has your striking come along in 7 amateur fights?
Dude, it's ridiculous. It's actually it's crazy, man. Seriously. I found a video from like before my first fight, and my striking was terrible, man. Was not good at all. So I kind of was just going in there and street fighting, using my wrestling, just throwing bombs. I'm more technical now, man. Save your energy, pick your shots, know when to throw your shots. So I've came a long way. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy,
Knowing,
man. Because
yeah,
it's
knowing that
like
you've
I'm telling you, this video that I found the other day, I was like, wow, dude, my striking was terrible, and I probably thought it looked good too.
so you've come that far with your striking. How much further do you think you can take your striking skills and stand up in MMA?
Oh man, that's the coolest thing about this sport is there's just always room to grow. There's so much stuff, man. You got striking, you got wrestling. Like I can always get better at wrestling, and work my wrestling into MMA because wrestling and MMA aren't the same thing. But use my wrestling for MMA purposes. Jiu-jitsu, uh, use my wrestling and work it with jiu-jitsu. So there's always room to grow, man. Work on kicking, getting more flexible. There's just always more stuff to get better at in MMA. It's the coolest sport, man.
We've both mentioned your uncle a couple times. Let's name drop it now. Matt the Hammer Hamill is your uncle. What's it like having him as your uncle and having him there for every step of your career?
Uh, it's uh, it's awesome, man. Me and him have built. He lived in New York most of my life. I'd see him a couple times a year. But when he moved back, since that, man, we've built a great relationship. We're like best friends, dude. So we're always texting, talking about fighting. He obviously trains me. I also train down at Vision MMA in Hyde Park. Um, but no, it's awesome. He fought some old heads, man. He fought, I think, 5 world champions. He fought Rampage, went to decision with Rampage, beat Tito Ortiz, Rich Franklin. Uh, who else?
John Jones?
Mike Bisbing. He got
Yep.
robbed by Mike Bisbing. John Jones. Yeah, that's a crazy one. A lot of people don't know this, but my uncle Matt had terrible management. Man, he got a lot of his money taken and coaching too. He would train out in the gym. Like he was a world class wrestler, man. Wrestled in the Olympics and everything, but he would train out in the gym in Utica just with coaches. Like he wouldn't if he would have been at it like a top gym like American Top Team or somewhere out there. What are the other gyms back in the day? If he would have been at an actual camp, man, my uncle would have been unstoppable. He was just, he trusted the wrong people, and it's cool because I get to learn from it. And I have a buddy who's actually in sports management. He's about to get his degree, his bachelor's degree, and then he's going to law school as well. And he's going to be my manager. So, but no, it's awesome. It's super cool.
Yeah, and it's great that you can kind of learn from the experiences that he had in his legendary career in the UFC. You name dropped a couple guys there that he fought, and I mentioned that John Jones fight where he won from those illegal elbows. But what do you make of that fight? Because nowadays it kind of gets talked about, because John Jones, he was, hitting him with elbows, but they were illegal. So technically your uncle did win the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Chael Sonnen dropped a video earlier this year, and he was talking about it. He's like, man, we have very few rules in this sport. Like, you can't poke in the eye, you can't hit people in the nuts, and you can't throw 12-6 elbows. So he was saying like Matt Hamill won that fight, which I mean, yeah, I believe he won that fight. He was obviously getting beat up. What he tells me is when he got taken down, he had never been taken down. John Jones was the only dude to take him down in all of his fights. And he got taken down when he went to catch himself. he broke his collarbone. Like, he put his arm back to catch him because Jones did like a leg sweep or something, and he broke his collarbone. So then when he was on the ground, he couldn't get up. He was trying to defend himself, and he could barely get his right arm up. So he was just getting mauled on. But yeah, man, I don't know how to look at it.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it is what it is. He won the fight.
Do you have a favorite fight in your uncle's career?
Probably the Tito Ortiz fight, and this is funny because it's like a surreal moment. We were in my backyard, and someone in Loveland, everybody, he's from Loveland, so everybody to watch him fight, and we had a projector TV screen, like one of those big blow-up projector TV screens set up in our backyard, and I remember Tito had been talking a bunch of crap, just maybe trying to sell the fight, whatever, but he was my uncle's coach on The Ultimate Fighter, and he picked my uncle to win The Ultimate Fighter. My uncle got hurt on The Ultimate Fighter, and Tito, after that, my uncle still got a UFC contract. Bisping ended up winning the Ultimate Fighter, but we were watching that fight in the backyard, and I remember he beat the hell out of Tito, and I remember being a kid, and I was like, I want to do this someday, and kind of just like throwing it out there. And man, that's what I'm saying. It's a dream. It's a cool moment. I'm taking small steps to get to where I want to be. So
I'm sure your uncle was supportive, but was the rest of your family supportive when you said, hey, you kind of want to follow in his footsteps and become a fighter yourself?
Oh yeah. My brothers were happy, and my dad was happy. My mom kind of, it's MMA, so she's supportive now that she's happy for me. She don't want to see me get hit in the face and stuff. So,
how big is Team Hammer, and are you guys looking to expand at all, like your fight team, or keep it that close circle that you have now?
So, I mean, we have some people up there. There's people that come in there to train that aren't really looking to fight. But we don't have that many people, quite honestly. That's I just love like doing pad work with my uncle and learning new techniques, and just him spitting game to me. And it's cool having him in my corner, man, because he like when I've listened to him, I wasn't really listening to him my first couple fights, and I'm like, man, if I would have listened to him more, because I was just kind of getting in there and zoning out. But now that I'm more comfortable, man, I'm getting in there, I'm calm, and been listening to him. It's been great. But yeah, we're always looking to have more people at the gym. It's in Landon, Ohio. Whether you're just wanting to learn how to defend yourself or become a fighter, whatever.
You bring a lot of people to each event, and so what does it mean to you to have so many family members and friends in attendance for your fights, and just have that support system in general, I guess?
It's awesome, man. Like I said, I'm trying to build a brand here. Fighting's not just fighting, especially when you turn pro. You see the guys who make a lot of money in the sport. They have big fan bases behind them. They're fun. They're entertaining. So I don't have to act like somebody I'm not. You see people getting up here and they're repeating stuff Conor McGregor said, and it's just corny, man. It's corny. Like if the time comes, if I need to talk shit, I'll talk shit. I've been talking shit my whole life growing up playing sports. So like I said, I don't have to act like someone I'm not. But it's the support is amazing, man. I love it. It really does make me happy. So it's super cool.
Yeah, and you deliver a show every single time. What does it say about your fighting style that in 3 of your 4 wins, you have legit put your opponent to sleep in one way or another?
Man, I got heavy hands. So I got heavy hands, and I want to keep getting my once I get my jiu-jitsu to where it needs to be, that's the time to turn pro, I think. So that's my biggest goal right now. I've been slacking a little bit on jiu-jitsu, just so focused on striking, and I feel like my striking's at a high enough level to turn pro. I want to get an amateur belt this year, which might be in the works. I've been offered a couple fights, so I just gotta figure it out, see what I'm gonna do. But yeah, when I wrestled, man, I would pin everybody. I would always finish my matches quick. I want it to be the same way in fighting. Obviously, prepare for the full fight. Be ready to go the distance, take someone's soul. But I want to be a finisher. That's the most exciting stuff. That's what people pay to watch, right? People get knocked out or put to sleep. So I would love for that to. That's what I want my style to be for sure.
Is there any other feeling in the world personally for you where you have that rush from winning by not only finishing your opponent, but literally leaving them motionless on the canvas after the knockout punch, or in your most recent fight, the submission?
Man, there's nothing like, I don't think there's any feeling in the world like getting in the cage, dude. It's crazy. You zone out. It's cool. It's like, it's a gladiator sport, dude. It's like, you go in there and it's just two people trying to hurt each other. It's an awesome sport. But no, there's no other feeling like winning. But like I said, man, it's been cool to grow and honestly learn to lose and accept loss and learn from it and not let it bring you down. Some people, like you said, they'll lose, man, and it'll look at Ronda Rousey. Some people lose and they don't know how to take it. So there's always people out there. There's some bad dudes out there, man. So it's just about being a bad dude yourself and putting the work in, having that confidence.
And how important is it that you got over that hurdle in your amateur career when you were, you had that 3-fight losing streak, but like that was in your amateur career before you even turned pro? You mentioned Ronda Rousey, but like you're already past that level, especially mentally.
It's huge. It's huge, man. I think I needed that. I think I needed those losses. Honestly, I needed those losses. It was huge to get over that, get a win, and once I got a win, man, I got back and I'm like, all right, Liam Hamill's back, man. Liam Hamill's back. I found myself again. I was in the gym, man. I was just vibing, having fun, and remembering who I am. So I'm definitely gonna make a name for myself, and it's cool having my uncle's name behind me. But I'm extremely excited for the future. I love fighting, man. I've honestly fallen in love with it. It's all I think about, and I'm excited, dude. And I appreciate you for having me on here. This has been a good talk.
Yeah, of course, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. As always, you talked about amateur titles, and you've actually fought for one before and lost for B2 Fighting Series. What would it mean to you to get to that next level in your amateur career and have gold wrapped around your waist?
Be awesome. It's just a next step in the path, man. I'm looking to get one scheduled. So it might be my next fight, or it might be one more and then that. So I would love to have a belt. Like I said, it's the next step, and get my name out there more. Win a belt.
Yeah.
I need it.
Sounds like you have some offers on the table. When can fans expect to see the Hitman back in action?
Somewhere in the next 2 months. So we'll see. I'm weighing out my options. A couple of them are in Ohio. I'm not a big fan of the same day weigh-ins before a fight. So same day weigh-ins, no kicks, knees to the head. You're almost. I think in Ohio they favor wrestlers. Ohio's a big wrestling state, but I've been kneed in the head. I've kneed people in the head, so it's part of MMA, part of learning. I don't want to take away part of the rule set just to fight close to home. So
it sounds like you're definitely trying to get in there at least one more time in 2023.
Man, the two for sure. Two for sure. I just got to figure it out. Like I said, at the end of this week, I should have it mapped out pretty well. But man, maybe three. Three would be awesome, but two for sure.
Yeah, 3 more this year would be insane. If you stay on that pace that you're on now, when would turning pro come into your career?
So I'm 4-3. I set a goal this year that I wanted to get to 7-3. I think that looks pretty good. That looks all right. And then turn pro. gotta win these fights and focus on each fight by fight, but keep winning, do it in good fashion, and it's getting to that time. I'm 21. I'm not trying to rush it. Work on my jiu-jitsu, but yeah, not rush it. But when the time's right, the time's right. So I think I'm getting to that point. I'm ready to start getting paid and make it happen, man.
Yeah, and you said that you established that one goal. And when I have fighters on the show for their first time, I like asking them about why they're in the sport, what they're trying to achieve, and some of those goals as well. So what are some of your goals in mixed martial arts?
Man, I have a bunch. I don't want to sound too crazy here. I always write goals down, but just keep growing and learning, becoming the best version of Liam Hamill that I can be. And that's the coolest thing about this sport is, like I said, there's always room to grow, room to learn. And man, when you're in camp and you're pushing yourself to get in peak level shape, you learn a lot about yourself, because there's always going to be that voice in your head when you hit a certain point. When you're training and it's a hard-ass training, you're going to hit a point where it's either you quit or you embrace being tired. So I've learned to embrace being tired. Even a fight, there might be some point where you get tired, but if mentally that can't break you, nothing's going to break you. So some goals. Yeah, get to 7-3. That's one of my goals. If I can't get 3 more fights this year, I'll do 1 more next year. But get an amateur belt, turn pro, and man, try to get on the Ultimate Fighter like my uncle did, and then work for there. But I'll give you those ones for now.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. One more for you. This time next year, August 2024, where are you at?
August 2024. Hopefully I'm pro with 2 wins, man.
All right. Sounds good, man. Let's do it. Well,
Yeah.
before we wrap up, man, anything you want to shout out, whether it be social media handles, sponsors, things going on at the gym, the floor is yours, man.
Shout out my teammates. Shout out all my sponsors. The new merch.
Looks great, man.
Hitman, Liam Hamill MMA. Yeah, that's my Instagram, Hamill. Shout out Liam Hamill MMA. Trying to build a brand. I'm not out here buying followers like other people. I got real, genuine support behind me. So I'm excited, man. I appreciate you for having me on here. This was fun. Good talk. First podcast, knocked it out.
Yes, sir, man. Thanks again, Liam, for joining me on the show. I was excited to come across your social media pages during Fight Week last week, and even more so after the performance you put on in that fight. Before I let you go, anyone who's listened to Forged in Ohio knows that there's only one way I like to end these conversations, and it's with the OHIO chant. So help me out here, man.
I-O.
Thanks, Liam. Thanks again for coming on, especially so soon after that win. I wish you the best moving forward, and let's reconnect after a couple more wins, man.
Sounds good, brother. I appreciate you.
That was Liam the Hitman Hamill, the 4-3 amateur mixed martial artist who tucked in his most recent opponent, told him a bedtime story, and put him to sleep in an anaconda choke in the very first round. He won his debut by unanimous decision, but his 3 other wins have all come inside the very first round. Liam quickly put that 3-fight losing streak in the rearview mirror, and when people ask, what have you done lately? Well, the Hitman has had back-to-back first-round finishes in under 4 months. So how does that sound? It sounds pretty darn good, if I say so myself. I can't wait to see this exciting welterweight prospect in action next as he prepares to take his amateur career to the next level. I said last week that I had some pretty exciting things on the horizon for Forged in Ohio, and one of them was this, putting Forged in Ohio on YouTube, doing video interviews, and giving you the option to not only listen to the show, but now watch it as well. It would mean a lot if you just click the subscribe button. It's free, and comment down below to let me know what you think of this new journey that Forged in Ohio and the show is really taking here. Also, give the other platforms some love still. Don't forget to continue downloading episodes on your favorite podcast platform and follow at Forged in Ohio on both Instagram and Facebook if you haven't already. Thank you all for watching or tuning in now. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.